It started with a silence that dragged too long. Not a fight. Not a scream. Just a silence. I came home from work, set my keys in the bowl like always, called out to Rachel, and she didn't answer. The living room looked fine. Couch fluffed. Mail stacked. A coffee cup still warm. But something was wrong. I walked into the bedroom, and that's when I saw it, the closet door open wide, half empty. Her side. Gone. No note. No goodbye. Just missing clothes and a space where her scent used to be. At first, I thought maybe it was a panic thing. Rachel had anxiety sometimes. Maybe she just needed air. A day or two. Maybe her mom called her out of the blue, or something happened I hadn't seen coming. I didn't think about Mark right away. I didn't think about him until I opened the dresser and saw one of his shirts folded on top of mine. It didn't make sense. Mark's not the sentimental type, and he definitely doesn't leave things behind. He's precise. Clean. Cold, even. But there it was. That gray shirt with the faded Orioles logo from college. We both had one, but mine had bleach stains near the hem. This one was his. No question. I stood there holding it, staring at the stitching, and something heavy started pressing down on my chest. I called him that night. He answered on the third ring, sounding like nothing was wrong at all. "Hey, man. What's up?" I said. "Have you talked to Rachel?" Silence. Then, not recently. Why? I lied. Just wondering. He said, "You okay?" I told him, "She's gone." And he said, "What do you mean gone?" I hung up. The next day, I drove to her office. Her desk was cleared out. Nobody had seen her since Monday. It was Thursday. 4 days gone, and I hadn't even noticed. That hit hard. Her friend Dana, the one she used to get coffee with every morning, looked at me like I'd walked in with blood on my hands. She said she was going to Vermont, Dana said. "She didn't tell you?" I shook my head. "No. She didn't." Dana hesitated, then added, "She was weird Monday. Quiet. Kept checking her phone. I thought maybe she was sick or something." "Did she say anything about Mark?" Her eyes flicked up. She blinked once. Too slow. "No. Why would she?" That was the first time I knew for sure. Not a guess. Not a theory. Just knew. Mark and I were never close, not really. We were the kind of brothers who could drink a beer and watch a game and never say a word. He moved away after college, some tech job in Portland, and only came back to visit Dad when Mom got sick. After she passed, he stuck around longer than I expected. Got a job at some startup in the city. Started coming by more often. At first, it felt nice. Familiar. Now it felt like poison in my blood. I went through our bank account that night. She'd taken money. Not a lot, just enough to vanish with. 1,000 here, 500 there. Spread out over a few months. Quiet and careful. Like she knew I'd notice if it all came out at once. She was planning this. 4 months. I barely slept. Just sat on the edge of the bed, her side of the closet yawning open like a wound, and stared at the shirt she left behind. Saturday, Mark showed up at my door. He knocked twice, didn't wait, just walked in like he always used to. "You hung up on me," he said. "That's not like you." I didn't say anything. Just looked at him. He glanced around the room like he was looking for something. Or someone. Then said, "You okay?" I asked him, "Why was your shirt in my drawer?" His face didn't change. Not even a twitch. He said, "What?" I tossed it at him. "This. Why was it here?" He caught it midair, looked at it like it was a dead thing, then shrugged. "No idea. Maybe it got mixed in during laundry. I crashed here a few months ago, remember?" He was too calm. I said, "Did she call you?" "No." "Have you seen her?" "No." Then I asked, "Did you help her leave?" He laughed. Short. Dry. "Are you serious?" I didn't blink. "Yeah. I am." He looked at the floor, then back at me. "Look, I know you're hurting. I get it. But don't turn this into some kind of witch hunt." She left. It happens. She left without saying a word. "And your shirt is in my drawer." He stepped forward, lowered his voice. "You really think I'd do that to you?" I said nothing. He dropped the shirt on the table and walked out without another word. I started looking through old texts. His name came up more often than I remembered. She mentioned him offhand, like he dropped by or helped her move a dresser or fixed her computer. Always little things. One message stood out. It was from late February. "Just a casual thing, Mark says hi. He came by to borrow a drill." I scrolled up. There were more like that. Mark helped me carry groceries today. Your brother has a weird taste in music lol. He showed me that dumb game you two used to play. I beat his score, FYI. Small things. But not meaningless. I remembered the day she mentioned the drill. I'd been working late. Got home around 10 p.m. She was already asleep. Or so I thought. I drove out to his apartment that night. It was a cramped third-floor place near the freeway, half unpacked still. Boxes stacked in corners, a coffee table with no legs. I knew the code to the building. He never changed it. He wasn't home. But the front door was unlocked. Inside, it smelled like dust and mint toothpaste. I walked slowly, like I was in someone else's house. In a way, I was. In his kitchen drawer, I found a receipt. It was from 3 weeks ago. 2 coffees. A bagel. 1 almond croissant. From a bakery near our house. Why would he be there? Why would he buy 2? I took a photo and left. Sunday morning, I drove to the bakery. It's this little hole in the wall with chalkboard menus and scones the size of your fist. Rachel used to love it. I hated the place. Too slow, too many dogs, always out of napkins. The barista didn't recognize me, but she knew Mark. Oh, yeah, she said. Tall guy, beard, always wears that green jacket. Comes in with a woman sometimes. Blonde, glasses. Rachel. She added, they used to come in together every Thursday morning. I asked, still. She nodded. Well, not for the last week or so, but before that, pretty regular. Thursday. The day she left. I walked out before I could say anything dumb. That night, I opened a bottle of bourbon I'd been saving since our anniversary. I didn't drink much, just enough to warm the edges. Just enough to keep the thoughts from sharpening. At some point, I texted Rachel. First time since she left. Me, I know it was him. No reply. A minute later, I sent another. Me, you could have just told me. Still nothing. I stared at the phone until it slipped from my hand and hit the carpet. Monday, I went back to work. Nobody said anything. I guess Rachel hadn't told anyone at the office either. The weird thing was, I didn't feel angry at first. I felt embarrassed. Like I'd missed something obvious. Like everyone else saw it and just didn't tell me. A coworker, Jared, said, hey, if you ever want to grab a beer, man. I thanked him. I didn't mean it. I didn't want beer. I wanted answers. Tuesday night, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out, then checked voicemail. It was her. She didn't say where she was. Didn't apologize. Just this, I didn't plan it this way. I swear I didn't. But once the line got crossed, there wasn't any going back. I thought I could fix it. I really did. That was it. No explanation. No name. But I didn't need one. The line got crossed. Mark. I didn't sleep. I just laid there, thinking back on every moment that felt off. That night she stayed late at work and came home with wet hair. Said she'd stopped at the gym. But she hates the gym. That weekend she said she needed space and took a solo hike. I offered to go with her. She said no, said she needed to clear her head. Mark loves hiking. It all started lining up, like bones knitting after a break. Friday, I made my move. I called him. Said I wanted to meet. No accusations. Just 2 brothers talking. He agreed. We picked a bar halfway between our places. I got there early. Sat at the back where I could see the door. Watched him walk in like nothing was broken. He hugged me. I didn't hug back. Over beers, I asked, you sure you haven't seen her? He said, I told you. No. I leaned in. She left me a message. Said something crossed a line. He froze. Not long. Just a beat. But it was enough. Then he said, I don't know what that means. Don't lie. I'm not. You are. He exhaled, pushed his glass away. You really want the truth? I didn't say anything. Just waited. He looked around, lowered his voice. She came to me. Not the other way around. I stared at him. What? She was falling apart. You weren't seeing it. I clenched my jaw. Don't put this on me. He said, I'm not. I'm just saying. She didn't feel seen. I listened. That's all it started as. Just talking. And then what? He didn't answer. I asked him again, quieter. And then what, Mark? He looked down. You know what happened. No. I want to hear you say it. He said, she needed something you weren't giving her. I stood up. He stayed seated. Said nothing more. I walked out. That night, I found the envelope. It was in Rachel's desk, wedged behind the drawer lining. Torn open already, but I recognized the paper. A bank statement. Her name. His name. A shared account. Not just an affair. They were building something. Together. Saturday, I packed a bag. Not because I was leaving, but because I needed space to think. I drove to the cabin Dad left us in the mountains. We hadn't used it in years. Dust on every surface. Water took 10 minutes to run clear. But it was quiet. And quiet was good. I lit a fire, poured a drink, and laid the bank statement on the table. Then I saw something. The account had a name. M&R Forestry Project. Forestry. That was my idea. Years ago. A side business I pitched once, drunk on optimism and bourbon. I'd told Rachel I wanted to buy land up north. Start a retreat. Hiking trails, cabins, maybe even a small shop. She'd laughed. Said it was sweet, but not practical. Apparently, it was practical when it was his idea. The next morning, someone knocked. No one should have known I was here. I opened the door and saw her. Rachel. Hair tied up. Hoodie too big. No makeup. No lies left. She said, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She sat across from me like we were strangers. Looked around the room like it was her first time here. It wasn't. We'd spent 2 anniversaries in this cabin. I asked her, "Why him?" She looked at me for a long time. Then said, "Because he listened." I said, "I listened." Not like he did. That hit deeper than I expected. I asked her, "Was it real?" She said, "Parts of it." "Which parts?" She didn't answer. I looked down at the bank statement. "You used my idea." She said, "It wasn't like that." I held it up. "It's exactly like that." Then I asked, "Are you in love with him?" She looked away. Whispered, "I don't know." That was worse than yes. We sat in silence for a long time. The fire cracked and popped, like it was trying to fill in for the words she wouldn't say. I finally asked, "Why come here now?" She looked up. "Because it's not working." "What's not?" "Us. Me and Mark." I waited. She said, "We thought we knew what we were doing. We didn't. It just fell apart. Too fast. So now you want to come back. After all of that?" She didn't nod. She didn't deny it, either. I stood up and walked to the window. It had started to snow. Light flurries, barely sticking to the trees. She used to love this, early snow, pine-scented air, the quiet hush of the forest. Behind me, she said, "I don't expect you to forgive me." "Good," I said. "Because I won't." Another silence. This one colder. Then she asked, "Why are you here?" I turned around. To remember what it felt like when things were mine. Before all this. She looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't. I stepped closer. "You took that from me, Rachel. You and Mark. You didn't just lie. You made me question every memory we ever had." Her voice broke. "I didn't mean to." "Then what did you mean to do? Just borrow my life for a while?" She shook her head, eyes glossy. "We didn't plan it like this." I stared at her. "No. You planned it exactly like this. You just didn't plan on guilt catching up." She didn't argue. I said, "You should go." She stood slowly. Walked to the door like she was sleepwalking. Before she left, she turned and said, "There's something you don't know." I raised an eyebrow. "Another secret?" She swallowed hard. "He's been lying to me too." And just like that, the floor shifted again. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what she said. "He's been lying to me too." I thought I was the betrayed one. The cast aside. But what if the story wasn't that clean? What if Mark wasn't the master manipulator? What if he had used her just like they both used me? I grabbed my phone and scrolled through old emails, texts, call logs. Mark's number had been unusually active the week before Rachel left. He'd called a number in Vermont 6 times in 2 days. I copied the number and ran it through a lookup tool. Came back as a landline. Business address. Forestry office. M&R Forestry Project. So it wasn't just an idea anymore. It was real. And I hadn't been part of it. Not even in name. The next day, I drove back to the city. I didn't go home. I went to his place. Knocked. Waited. He opened the door shirtless, blinking like he just woke up. "You look like hell," he said. I pushed past him. "Hey," he said, "what the, you lied to her." He shut the door. "You're going to have to be more specific. She came to see me. Said things between you two weren't what she thought." He rubbed his jaw. "Did she now?" I turned. Why'd you start that account in both your names? He froze. I took a step closer. You didn't expect me to find it, did you? It was just easier that way, he said. She had the connections. I had the plan. My plan. He gave a smirk that barely passed for a shrug. You weren't using it. I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. He didn't fight back. Just said, calm as ever, you're not the only one she lied to. I let go. He took a deep breath, fixed his shirt. She told me she left you clean. No mess. Said it was mutual. She left a voicemail. His eyes narrowed. She what? Said something about a line getting crossed. Said she thought she could fix it. He went pale. I asked, what don't I know? He didn't speak. So I said, you used her. He said, we used each other. I leaned in. She thinks you were building a life together. She was ready to give up everything. He laughed, bitter, hollow. She gave up nothing. She still kept your name on the mortgage. She's still using your login for Netflix. You think she was all in? Please. Then why bother? He hesitated. Then, because I wanted to win. That stopped me cold. He walked to the kitchen, grabbed a beer, twisted it open with one hand. I was tired of you being the golden one, he said. Dad always praised you. Mom always bragged about you. You were the steady one. The reliable one. Meanwhile, I got chaos. I got lectures. You don't know what it's like living in your shadow. I stared at him. So you took her to punish me? He drank, shrugged. I took her because I could. I nodded slowly. Then I walked out. Back at home, I found one more thing I hadn't noticed before. A notebook tucked behind the books in her nightstand. Rachel's handwriting. Journals, old lists, doodles. And one entry near the back. Dated the week before she left. Mark says we should go soon. He thinks it'll get messy if we wait. He keeps pushing for Vermont. I'm not sure. I still feel like it's wrong. But he says this is our chance. I read it 3 times. He was rushing her. Not out of love. Out of fear. Out of strategy. That night, I called her. She answered on the second ring. I asked her, did you know he was pushing you to leave sooner? She went quiet. I said, I found your journal. Still nothing. Then she whispered, I didn't want to believe it. He used you. Her voice cracked. I thought we were building something. No, I said. He was just burning down mine. I didn't tell her to come over. She just showed up. Same jacket. Same tired eyes. She stood on my porch like she was waiting for a verdict. I opened the door and stepped aside. Neither of us spoke for a minute. Then she said, you were right. He never cared about me. I didn't nod. Didn't gloat. I just watched her. Watched the way her fingers wouldn't stop fidgeting with the hem of her sleeve. Rachel didn't fidget. Not unless she was scared. She sat down on the couch like her body couldn't hold her up anymore. I lied to myself, she said. I told myself it was different with him. That I had found something better. I asked her, so why didn't you leave me the moment it started? She looked at me like the answer hurt. Because I didn't want to lose you. I scoffed. You lost me the second you handed him my life. She blinked, hard. It wasn't about revenge. Then what was it? I wanted someone to see me, she said. Not just live next to me. Not just go through the motions. I was seeing you. Not the way he did. I shook my head. He saw what he could take. That's it. She looked away. I know that now. Too late. She stood up. I came here because I had to tell you something. I raised an eyebrow. Another secret? She didn't answer. Instead, she handed me a manila envelope. I opened it. Inside were documents. Bank transfers. Ownership papers. And a letter. My name was on it. I read the first few lines and felt my hands go cold. The forestry business, M&R, was never filed under Mark and Rachel. It was filed under Matthew and Rachel. Me. My social security number. My signature, copied from old forms. Forged. I looked up. He used me to open this. She nodded, barely. He said it was cleaner that way. Less risk. That you'd never find out. He set it up while I was still living here. I sank into a chair. My head spun. He used me to fund the business. She whispered, and your credit. He applied for a loan in your name. I didn't know until it was already approved. He said you'd never be held responsible unless it defaulted. And it is defaulting, I said, eyes wide. She sat beside me. That's why I left. Not because I didn't love you. Because I thought I could fix it before it collapsed. I thought if I left quietly, he'd stop. But he didn't. He kept digging. And now it's all falling apart. I asked, so why come back now? Because your name's about to be dragged into it. And I couldn't let that happen. I stared at the envelope for a long time. Part of me didn't want to believe it. But the paperwork was real. My name, all over it. She said, I'm going to the police. I looked at her. That makes you an accomplice. I know. I could see it in her face. The fear. The resolve. She was tired of running. Tired of hiding. Tired of him. I'll testify, she said. I'll give them everything. Every email, every message. I just need you to understand, I didn't know what he was really doing. I thought we were building something, but it was never ours. It was always yours. And he just took it. The arrest happened 3 days later. I didn't go to the courthouse, but I saw it on the news. Mark in handcuffs, head down, flanked by 2 federal agents. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Multiple counts. Rachel turned over everything. She was still being investigated, but the DA said her cooperation could spare her time. Maybe even keep her out of prison. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the slow rebuild. Every bank. Every form. Every explanation. No, I didn't open that account. Yes, I'm the victim. No, I didn't give him permission. I had to prove I was me again. It took weeks. Months. But slowly, things stabilized. The last time I saw Rachel, she came by with a check in her hand. Everything she had left. She wanted me to have it. I didn't take it. I'm not here for money, I said. Then why let me in? I looked at her. And I told her the truth. Because I needed to see it. Needed to know it wasn't all a lie. She nodded. Said nothing. Then turned and walked out the door. People ask if I'll ever speak to Mark again. I won't. There's no apology that would make sense now. No conversation worth having. He didn't just betray me, he built a whole world with my name on it just so he could ruin it. And Rachel? I don't hate her. But love, that thing I thought would carry us through anything, turns out, it's not invincible. It needs honesty. It needs safety. And once those things are gone, there's no going back. The cabin's mine again. I go there sometimes. Light a fire. Let the silence wrap around me. And I remember the sound of my own name. Not his. Not ours. Mine.